You're listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes, right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to discuss Monday Night Raw from March 13th, 2023. Another day, another week, another Monday with a boring Monday Night Raw episode. Overall thoughts on this show. This show, in my opinion, man, although there were some good parts of the show, I'm going to be honest with you guys. There was a lot of other parts of the show in which I just did not give a single shit about. Again, the biggest problem with this goddamn show is the fact that this show is 3 hours. And almost every week, every time when I do the Raw review, I say the exact same thing because literally I have trouble when it comes to certain parts of the show in which I'm just like, okay, I just do not care about what's going on. But we'll be talking about the negatives, but we will also be talking about the positives of the show. Once again, of course, we are on the road to WrestleMania 39. We had Edge and Finn Balor's amazing opening segment, in my opinion. I thought it was very good at what they did. They're going to be having a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania, which I'm very excited about. This match was definitely in the rumor mill for months now. We all kind of knew where this was kind of headed. They weren't going to end this whole feud at Elimination Chamber. The blow-off was most likely going to happen at WrestleMania, and we finally have the official announcement for the match happening at WrestleMania. The story between Rey Mysterio and Dominik Mysterio continues. Cody Rhodes cuts an amazing babyface promo, and clearly, the fans are not turning on Cody Rhodes at fucking all. But overall, aside from that, we also had Kevin Owens versus Solo Sikoa in the main event. I could have sworn we saw this match last week, but I completely forgot because of the fact that really, when it comes to Raw, I don't really remember a lot about what happens, considering the fact that the show is not really that good. But the match was not really that long, but of course it's continuing on the story regarding Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and now with the involvement of Cody Rhodes. Kevin Owens still wants to fight the Bloodline on his own without any help. But after this week and after last night, it looks like that's going to be 100% different. But before I get on with all this craziness regarding Monday Night Raw and the snooze fest that was this show, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Also, if you missed it, the SmackDown review has been up on the channel. Again, the SmackDown reviews are actually doing very well in viewership these past couple of weeks. SmackDown has been pretty much a good show, in my opinion. I've been enjoying the show for what it was. Certainly better than Raw, I'll say that. But we talk about Jey Uso, of course, explaining his actions after turning on Sami Zayn last Monday night on Raw. But the SmackDown review is up. But also, I uploaded, finally, episode 10 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we talk about a lot of news regarding both WWE and AEW. We talk about AEW's possible new show airing on Saturdays at 6:05 on one of the Turner networks, and why this is a good thing, but at the same time, there could be some concerns. I give you guys the pros and cons of this new show. We also talk about things like CM Punk. We talk about Bray Wyatt, who's been in the news as well. Apparently, the story going around was that he apparently no-showed the MSG house show, and what happened was Sapp from Fightful stated that he was out due to physical issues. At the end of the day, we do not know what the hell is going on with Bray Wyatt. The only person that knows what's going on with Bray Wyatt is Bray Wyatt, and I talked about this on episode 10. I talked about this and stated, do not jump to conclusions regarding Bray Wyatt. We do not know the full story yet. When you guys get the full story, or I should say when we get the full story, I think it's best for us to finally judge and give our opinion when the full story is out. But episode 10 of the podcast is up on the channel already. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. The link will be in the description below. But let's get on with this show. Edge kicks off Monday Night Raw. Edge is super popular. I believe they were in Providence, Rhode Island this week. He cuts a promo, of course. Talks about how that never gets old, and that's why he does this. Of course, the crowd is having a standing ovation for the Rated R superstar. Edge talks about how he knows why he is here, and he calls out Finn Balor to get his ass out here. So Finn Balor comes out, but he comes out with the Judgment Day. After that, talks about how here he is, Finn Balor live in the flesh, and for once he agrees with all these clowns. He wants to hear what he wants to say. That's exactly what Finn Balor stated. Edge says that he didn't come out to say anything. He came out to end this. And if he runs back there, he's going to basically take out Judgment Day. And after that, he talks about how it's the same old song and dance every frickin' week. And a few weeks ago, he challenged him at Mania. And Edge, or I should say Finn Balor, says, fine, you got it. Now you can hear him talk. And Edge talks about how he has been out of retirement for like 2 years now, and, time is wasting, and he needs to accomplish what he wants to do. Talks about how he pulled Judgment Day from out of his feet, and that made him better, and that made it better. He's an Australian Mexican emo delight, which is hilarious. He talks about how Judgment Day worked, and every week he has left him laying. He made him even say, I quit, and then he still bashed Beth Phoenix's skull with the concerto. For last year, he tried to make his life a living hell, and he accomplished it. But there's only one way that this could end. This could only end at WrestleMania, and it's going to be Edge versus Finn Balor, slow pause, inside Hell in a Cell. And then Balor doesn't even have the, scared look on a heel's face, in which, every time when the babyface states something like that, I challenge you to a Hell in a Cell match, you definitely would see, the heel would get that, scared look on their face. For example, when CM Punk challenged MJF to the dog collar match last year on that Dynamite, I believe it was a February episode of Dynamite. In that opening segment, you had, MJF literally just have this look on his face like, oh shit, I'm fucked. Balor did not have that, though, which is awesome to see. Balor then states this awesome-ass line, and he states, he's been to hell before, but then it spit him out because hell couldn't handle his demons. Wink, wink. After that, he talks about how he will see him at WrestleMania, but until then, the Judgment Day walk up to the ring. Edge proceeds to fight off Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio, and what happens is actually Rhea Ripley enters the fray, but then what happens is Johnny Gargano, Dexter Lumis, and Candice LeRae come in for the save, which actually leads us to a match between Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis taking on Damian Priest and Dominik Mysterio. Overall thoughts on this segment. I enjoyed the segment, but I don't know why, man. This is a common WWE occurrence. Maybe it's just me being picky, but this is a common occurrence every time on WWE television, is like they would have an opening segment, or they would have any segment that would literally bleed into a match. That's literally every fucking segment on any WWE show, and sometimes it drives me crazy. It's fine to do that once in a while, but I really do not like when they have a really good segment and then it just bleeds into a match out of nowhere. I just absolutely hate it. Or if you guys do not remember when Vince McMahon was in charge, which honestly at this point we don't even know if he's going to be in charge at this point, because he was in fucking Gorilla last week. But usually the Vince McMahon special would literally be, a brawl would break loose after a segment. They would go to commercial break, and then they would literally have Adam Pearce come out during the commercial break and be like, oh, yep, this match is official. Or what they would do is have a one-on-one match. Then what would happen is a couple of wrestlers come in, a brawl would break loose, and then you know what? They go to commercial break, and then the match immediately transforms into a fucking tag team match. I hate that type of shit. That is just me, but thankfully that did not happen on this show. But again, a very common picky thing with me when it comes to WWE is segments leading into, like, bleeding themselves into matches, like, immediately after. I don't know why. It kind of just turns me off, in my opinion. But overall, thoughts on the tag team match that opened the show. I thought the tag team match was actually pretty good, in my opinion. Johnny Gargano and Dexter Lumis looked great. Damian Priest and Dominik are fantastic. They're a fantastic tag team. There's one thing that you can say positive about WWE is the usage of Judgment Day. I've been really enjoying the work of Judgment Day, and there's been a lot of rumors in the rumor mill talking about how after WrestleMania, Judgment Day could expand. That's going to be very interesting to see what they do there, but I'm very excited to see what they do. But overall, let's go through the match. We get a shoulder tackle by Dominik. Gargano goes for the arm drag, but then Dominik misses the arm drag. We get a kick to the head of Dominik, but then Dominik tags in Priest. Gargano then tags in Dexter Lumis. So both lock up. Priest is in control, taking Lumis down, but then Lumis gets up. We get a right hand by Priest, but then he takes Lumis into the corner. He goes for a couple of body shots, followed by a headbutt, and then he throws him to the other corner. And then Dexter Lumis goes for a dropkick, taking Priest to the outside. Priest then comes back into the ring, but then Lumis goes for a drop toe hold on Damian Priest. After that, Johnny Gargano makes the tag. We get a right elbow by Priest on Johnny Gargano, but then he drops Gargano face first onto the turnbuckle. And then Dominik tags in. He hits repeated rights on Gargano. He then sends Gargano into the corner. Dominik then runs into the knee strikes, and then Gargano goes for a Hurricane Rana on the outside. And then after that, Gargano goes for a kick. Priest then runs into a right hand, but then Gargano goes for a cannonball on both Dominik Mysterio and Damian Priest. Once we're back from commercial break, Gargano and Priest fight it out. He takes Gargano to the corner. Dominik then makes the tag, but then after that, he drives his boot on Johnny, and then Priest tags in. He hits a right hand on Lumis, but then he hits a back elbow on Johnny Gargano, and then Damian Priest goes for the broken arrow. Dominik then goes for the blind tag, and then he gets sent over the top rope. We get a cover by Dominik and a near fall. After that, Dominik is in control over Johnny Gargano. And Dominik, being Dominik, goes for the Three Amigos. A lot of people tend to criticize Dominik Mysterio for the Three Amigos. I'm going to stop with the criticism, for me at least, of the Three Amigos. I mean, it's great heat by Dominik, and Dominik is clearly a heat magnet, in my opinion. But at this point, Johnny Gargano gets up. Gargano goes for a right, but then Dominik goes for the right hand. Gargano is on the middle rope, but then he misses the 619. Gargano then hits the spear through the ropes on Dominik, but then Priest tags in. Dexter Lumis makes the tag, but then Lumis fights off Priest. Then he goes for the spine buster, and then he goes for one on Dominik, and then he takes both Priest and Dominik in each corner. He hits a running bulldog on Dominik after that, and then he goes for the belly-to-back suplex, followed by a leg drop on Priest. We get a cover by Dexter Lumis and a near fall. He then picks up Damian Priest, but then Priest escapes. Damian Priest then gets sent to the outside, but then Dominik goes for the roll-up. He then hits his foot on the ropes, but then Candice LeRae, who was on the outside, interferes, but then Rhea Ripley comes in. Rhea gets sent to the steps, but then Rhea drives Candice LeRae to the barricade. Great way to show Rhea Ripley off. And then Lumis faces off with Rhea Ripley, which is a great moment in my opinion of the match. And then Priest hits a devastating lariat on Dexter Lumis. And then he drives Lumis face first to the mat. Dominik tags in, and then he hits a frog splash off the top. We then get a cover and a near fall when Johnny Gargano makes the save, but then Priest takes... actually, he tries to go for the spinning kick, but then he misses. We get a super kick by Gargano, and then he follows up with the suicide dive, but then Dominik goes for the baseball slide. Lumis then applies a triangle, but what happens is Priest makes the tag. We get he proceeds to kick Lumis, and then he takes Lumis and he goes for the South of Heaven chokeslam, and we get a cover, and Dominik Mysterio and Damian Priest get the win. Overall thoughts on this match, pretty good match. I don't want to say it was a random match, but it kind of felt like one, but overall, not a bad match to open this show. Now, the question is what is Dominik Mysterio most likely going to be doing at WrestleMania? A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be Rey Mysterio versus Dominik, which I definitely see happening. But Rey Mysterio would go on record and say he didn't want to face his son, but maybe he was just in kayfabe. But it looks like that match is going to be happening. And speaking of Rey Mysterio, we will be talking about that later on this show, because I thought the segment that they had on Raw on this show is actually pretty good as well. The Miz, earlier today, arrives in the building. Chad Cable comes in, and he wants to look for Otis, but then Miz gets asked if he wants, a co-host, and talks about how all of a sudden they turn to the camera, and all of a sudden they show Damage Control attacking Trish Stratus. So there's a lot of crazy shit going on. We got Omos versus MVP. Well, not versus MVP. Omos and the Brock Lesnar face-off segment, which, let's be honest with ourselves, Brock Lesnar versus Omos is not a match nobody wants to see at WrestleMania. Literally, nobody wants to see this match. If there's anything, and I said this like 2 weeks ago, Omos versus Brock Lesnar is the type of match that Vince McMahon would book for WrestleMania. Clearly, that is the type of match that they would want to book for WrestleMania. But Brock Lesnar, MVP states that Brock Lesnar is a brilliant athlete, but he's a terrible tactician. He talks about how he made an error by putting his hands on him, but the biggest mistake he made was accepting a match against Omos at WrestleMania. And then what happens? Cowboy Brock comes out. Brock Lesnar comes out. Brock's in the ring. We get a bunch of holy shit chants, and then both face off. Omos then brings out his fist and points at Lesnar. After that, he offers a handshake, and then we get a bunch of Suplex City chants from the crowd. And then both shake hands, but then both do not let go. Brock tries to go after Omos, but then what happens is Omos immediately regains the advantage, and he tries to clothesline Lesnar on the outside, but actually botched really bad. He tried multiple times, and Lesnar ends up actually going to the outside, but it took a while for Omos to do that. Overall thoughts on this segment. I honestly do not care about this segment whatsoever. I thought this segment was pretty funny, but at the same time, I mean that in the worst way possible. I didn't like this segment at all. Like, I remember, like, right before they did the handshake, you had Omos literally, like, put his fist on Brock Lesnar's face, and I'm like, wait, what is the whole point of this? This is so weird. Am I excited for this match? No. This match is... I don't know why, man. This is like the worst possible match that you could come up with. Are they going to do the moment in which Brock Lesnar is going to F5 Omos? Yes. Is it going to look great? Yes, and they're probably going to show it in many different highlight reels for the years to come. But still, nobody, and I mean nobody, asked for this match. Literally, again, this is the type of match that Vince McMahon would book for WrestleMania. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Triple H did not book this match whatsoever. I guarantee you Vince McMahon came up with this fucking match. It literally screams like a Vince McMahon idea. I don't give a shit what anybody says. A lot of people are saying, oh, Triple H is fully in charge. Well, I mean, clearly Vince McMahon was not in Gorilla just for the sake of meeting with John Cena. I tend to disagree with that statement, but whatever. This was definitely a Vince McMahon match. We got a match between the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, taking on LA Knight. This is actually a pretty good match overall. I mean, LA Knight and Cody Rhodes are both veterans in this wrestling game. But overall, this was a pretty good match. Cody Rhodes looked great. LA Knight looked great. Now, the question we have with LA Knight is, what the hell is LA Knight going to be doing for WrestleMania? There's a lot of talent that is on the roster that, like, literally we do not know what the fuck are they going to be doing at WrestleMania. For example, what the hell is Johnny Gargano going to be doing at WrestleMania? What the hell is Bronson Reed going to be doing at WrestleMania? What the hell is LA Knight? The guy like LA Knight, what is he literally going to be doing at WrestleMania? We do not know. I felt like after the Pitch Black match, really, LA Knight wasn't really going to be doing anything at that point. But let's talk about Cody Rhodes versus LA Knight. The match starts. Both lock up. LA Knight goes for a couple of right hands. Cody Rhodes then goes for the hip toss, but then we get a right hand later on by Cody Rhodes. He follows up with a side headlock, and then he goes for repeated rights. He follows up with a running knee onto the head of LA Knight. We got a cover anti-near fall. At this point, LA Knight is on the outside. He then gets caught into a right hand by LA Knight by hitting a suicide dive. On the outside, Cody regains the advantage, but then Cody regains control, driving LA Knight to the barricade. But then all of a sudden, LA Knight immediately after that drives Cody's arm onto the barricade as well. And then Cody does the same to LA Knight. And then Cody goes to the top, but then LA Knight comes in and drives him down with a double underhook suplex off the top, which looked very, very, very sick in my opinion. I thought that was pretty dope. Once we're back from commercial break, Cody Rhodes picks up LA Knight, but then LA Knight escapes. He then hits the DDT. We then get a cover and a near fall. LA Knight then goes for a side chin lock. After that, Cody goes for the forearm, hitting an uppercut. After that, and then he hits the power slam. But then after that, Cody Rhodes proceeds to hit the disaster kick. After the disaster kick, he goes for the cover, and we get a near fall. Then all of a sudden, Cody Rhodes gets caught by LA Knight, but then we get a cover and a near fall. Cody then counters LA Knight and hits the Cody Cutter after that. Then after that, he proceeds to hit the Crossroads, and we get a cover, and Cody Rhodes gets the win over LA Knight. Cody Rhodes then grabs the microphone. We get a bunch of Cody chants from the crowd. Clear sign that the fans are not booing Cody Rhodes. He talks about how he keeps hearing these warnings by Mr. Heyman that he should stay out of the Bloodline's business. He doesn't work for the Bloodline or for Mr. Heyman. If he wants to fight alongside Sami, Kevin Owens, he can do that. He also hears Heyman say that he doesn't want to make this personal. What a joke. It has been personal since he first appeared on this show when he was 21 years old. Week after week, chokes up fighting back tears. He isn't even talking about his robe. It's talking about his tailor suit. It's because he wanted to be somebody. He wanted to be somebody, and Mr. Heyman talks about acknowledging Roman, and he acknowledges him, damn it, but he better acknowledge him. He talks about how he is undefeated, and he grew up thinking that he was a prince, but he has no crown. He has no crown, and he has no undisputed WWE Universal Championship. On April 7th, or 2nd, when the sun goes down in Hollywood, it will go down on Roman's generational run. On that day, April 2nd, it's every single person that followed him that we will go on this journey. On April 2nd, he wanted to hold his life or, hold this, life and no more. And on April 2nd, he pins Roman Reigns to the mat and becomes the first Rhodes to say he became the undisputed WWE champion. Overall thoughts on this segment, or I shouldn't say segment, this promo after Cody Rhodes' match against LA Knight. This was a very good promo in my opinion. I very much enjoyed this promo. Great. Cody Rhodes is always fantastic when it comes to his promos. And again, I have full faith in Triple H regarding, what he's going to be doing with Cody Rhodes. But I'll say this, man. One of the biggest problems, even though I still think Cody Rhodes should win, one of the biggest problems with this, build towards the match at WrestleMania is the fact that we're not getting a lot of interaction between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. We did have one 2 weeks ago on the SmackDown show, but again, I think it's in the nature because of the fact that Roman Reigns is not always on the show every week, and that can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing at the same time. And I feel like it's definitely affecting this build for this match to the point where you have even some people that wanted Cody Rhodes to win at the time now are like, is Cody Rhodes really going to win this match? I still believe Cody Rhodes should win this match because, again, if Cody Rhodes does not beat Roman Reigns for the titles at WrestleMania, then what the fuck was the whole point of Cody Rhodes not only coming into the WWE, but what the fuck was the point of Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania to begin with? But again, this was a pretty good promo, and things are going to, once again, get a little bit interesting as we head towards WrestleMania. But that was Cody Rhodes' promo. We get a backstage interview with Seth Rollins, asked about his reaction to Logan Paul sucker punching him last week. Seth Rollins states that last week he was acting like he won the lottery. Why? Because he did. He landed the shot of a lifetime. He knocked him down. And if there's one thing that we learned about Seth Rollins is that you can't keep him down. And then the next time, but then what happens? Immediately, The Miz interrupts, talks about how he is jealous and he lost control of the narrative, and says that he is the host of WrestleMania and he has privileged information. And next week, Logan Paul will host the first ever WWE edition of Impulsive TV. And then what happens is Baron Corbin comes in, talks about how he wants to be in, the whole thing, like be the host of WrestleMania. But then Miz is like, nah, he wants to be his co-host. And Miz says there's a lot. And he has a lot of pull for WrestleMania. But he doesn't have that much pull. All of a sudden, Corbin, goes to Seth Rollins and he says, I could give you boxing lessons, bro, because, you're going to wrestle Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Rollins says that he would rather take boxing lessons from his baby daughter. And then Corbin says that he would knock him out. But then all of a sudden, Rollins thinks that, that screams like a challenge. And Rollins accepts the challenge, and it's going to be Rollins versus Baron Corbin later on tonight on the show. We then get Bronson Reed versus Elias. At this point, this is where the show really starts to go downhill. It's really as soon as all the important stuff gets out of the way, man. That is where from that 9 to 10 hour, that second hour literally just drags on so long. Literally every fucking 5 minutes when you're watching the show, you're looking at your phone being like, okay, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? You literally just do not give a damn about what you are watching. And it's even crazier because of the fact that, there are some portions of the show in which they would just air video packages about what happened basically last week. They would basically air video packages recapping what happened last week because they need to kill time. They need to put shit on the show because literally 3 hours is a long ass time. We got Bronson Reed versus Elias. Bronson Reed, even though he's fantastic and I feel like they're booking him really good, God damn, every time when Bronson Reed wrestles, man, the crowd is just flat out dead. There's literally no reaction for this guy. Elias as well. What the hell are they doing with Elias and this whole Rick Book shit? I don't know. I could care less. Again, filler bullshit. So the match starts. Relatively short match. We get an elbow by Bronson Reed. He flattens Elias. He then hits a right hand. Elias then fights back with a couple of rights, but then he hits a chop. And then Elias gets taken into the corner, but then we get a cover by Bronson Reed and a near fall. He then goes for a back elbow by Elias on Bronson Reed. And then we get a boot by Elias. And then he hits a crossbody, but then he gets caught. After that, Elias escapes, but then Elias hits the knee. And then he runs into a clothesline by Bronson Reed, or I should say a lariat. That looked like a lariat to me. Bronson then hits the power slam. He goes to the top and immediately hits the tsunami. We get a cover, and Bronson Reed wins the match. Again, I liked what they're doing with Bronson Reed, but again, no reaction whatsoever. Let's move on. Chad Gable backstage is looking for Otis. He tells Kathy Kelly to call her, and then what happens is Kathy Kelly is actually in front of the trainer's room or the doctor's room in which Trish Stratus is in trying to, get help from the doctors after being attacked earlier tonight by Damage Control. And what happens is the new women's tag team champions, I completely forgot that they were women's tag team champions. It goes to show you how irrelevant those tag team titles are. Becky Lynch and Lita come in and they completely ignore Kathy Kelly and go straight into the room. Then after that, we got Kevin Owens in a backstage interview. Talks about how he needed help for a long time, and Sami is now the one asking for help. It's hard to realize why he doesn't want to help him. He is fine fighting on his own. And Cody, he heard what Cody heard, what he told him last week. He basically talked about him last week. So basically what happened was, actually, it was in a random backstage segment. In the background, you actually have Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens actually talking in the background. That's what he's mentioning too. And he talks about how, like he told him last week, he doesn't want his help. He means what he said. He needs to focus on WrestleMania. He needs to focus on Roman Reigns. And he doesn't want to see Cody Rhodes out there. And he wants to fight Solo Sikoa and fight the Bloodline on his own. Great stuff by Kevin Owens. I love how they're progressing the story. After that, we get a video package on Austin Theory and John Cena last week. Of course, I'm talking about when John Cena completely committed murder. I mean that in the most sarcastic way possible. Of course, in the promo with Austin Theory. Literally, John Cena annihilated the shit out of this man. And it was funny as hell. And then earlier today, Austin Theory walks in the building. He runs into the Street Profits and talks about how the Street Profits basically call Austin Theory a choke artist, and they basically compare to one of the characters from 8 Mile, which was hilarious to see. And, Austin Theory then asks, who is the toughest of the Street Profits? He actually thinks it's Angelo Dawkins, but it isn't Montez Ford. And when it comes to Tez, he is a big bag of jokes. And every time when he has an opportunity, he chokes. And when it comes to all the smoke, all he does is choke. Austin Theory basically gets the last laugh. That actually leads us to a match between Austin Theory versus one half of the Street Profits, that being Angelo Dawkins. Overall thoughts on this match, again, not that long of a match, but not a bad match whatsoever. Again, they're trying to basically put shit on the show to just kill time because, again, they know that this show is ridiculously long and it's absolutely insane, but it is what it is. We got a waistlock takedown by Angelo Dawkins. He follows up with a back elbow by Theory. We get repeated stomps by Theory, but then he hits a drop kick. After that, he picks up Theory and then he drives him down to the mat. We then get a cover by Dawkins and a near fall. Theory then goes for the stomp, and then we get a right hand by Theory, and then he drives Dawkins into the corner. We then get a side headlock by Theory, but then we get a right hand by Dawkins. At this point, Theory is down. Theory then on the outside drives Angelo Dawkins onto the barricade. After that, he goes for repeated rights. He then sends him to the barricade once again. Once we're back from break, after that, we get a right hand by Theory, but then Theory is in control over Angelo Dawkins. Dawkins then drives Theory to the mat with a suplex, but then Dawkins goes for the right hand. He then hits repeated clotheslines, and then he follows up with a spinning back elbow by Dawkins in the corner. We get a splash and an enziguri by Dawkins. Dawkins is so good when he does this type of shit. We get a roll-up by Theory into near fall, but then Dawkins goes for the silencer. We get a cover into near fall once again, but then Theory goes for a right. And then what happens is Angelo Dawkins hits the pounce, period, on Austin Theory. But then Theory fires back with the rolling shotgun dropkick after that. We get a cover and a near fall. But then Dawkins reverses and goes for the inside cradle. But then we get a near fall as well. Dawkins proceeds to go for a sunset flip roll-up, but then we get a near fall once again. After that, we get a enziguri by Dawkins. And then Theory, after that, hits a right hand, or a left hand, I should say. And then he picks him up, and he hits the A-Town down. And we get a cover, and Austin Theory wins the match. And what happens is after the match, Austin Theory continues to punish Angelo Dawkins, and he applies John Cena's submission maneuver, the STF, or I should call it the STFU as it used to call before they changed it into the STF. But then what happens is Montez Ford comes in for the save. My best guess is they're probably going to be booking Austin Theory versus Montez Ford. Just watching WWE for all these years, you clearly know what match they're leading to the next week when it comes to these types of things. So most likely we're going to be getting Montez Ford versus Austin Theory. But overall thoughts on this match, not a bad match whatsoever, but nothing really special. We get a backstage interview with Paul Heyman. Talks about how the Bloodline has a problem, and that problem is Kevin Owens. The Kevin Owens problem will be solved by Solo Sikoa tonight. And then there is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes has a problem. He is mistaken the fact that the truth will imprison his mind by making this personal to our tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Of course this is personal to Roman Reigns. This is what makes him a, riveting challenger. To make this personal to Roman Reigns, what a schmuck. Paul Heyman literally called Cody Rhodes a schmuck. Cody Rhodes then wants to acknowledge his tribal chief. He will give him a chance. Next week, live from St. Louis, Missouri on Raw, our tribal chief will be here on the show. Wow, something interesting. We are going to be getting Roman Reigns on the show instead of being on SmackDown all the time. Awesome, great. So next week, he will be on Raw, and Cody Rhodes will acknowledge our tribal chief, and he will make the biggest personal business decision of his life. He will decide if he is going to be a challenger or a problem. Because if he's going to be a problem, it is a problem that Roman Reigns would personally love to solve. And that was Paul Heyman's backstage promo. Overall, I liked that promo. Paul Heyman, again, I constantly come on here on both the Raw and SmackDown review. Whenever Paul Heyman shows up, Paul Heyman is always top-notch when it comes to his promos. It can literally be a match that you do not give a single fuck about, and he will still sell you on that match. Granted, we all give a shit about Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, and I'm definitely excited for that match, but still, again, he sold the shit out of that, and of course, he promoted the fact that Roman Reigns is going to be on the show next week. Hopefully, you don't false advertise us like you did on Friday, because apparently we all thought Roman Reigns was going to be on the show this past Friday, but apparently WWE false advertised. All right, we get then a Rey Mysterio segment. Of course, Rey Mysterio. I talked about this on episode 10 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, also on the SmackDown review. But if you guys do not know, Rey Mysterio is the first inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2023. If you guys haven't checked out my thoughts on that, the link to episode 10 of the podcast and also the SmackDown review will be in the link in the description below. But Rey Mysterio cuts a promo on Raw, says, wow, he thanks the fans, and he has to admit, it feels good to be back on Raw. Just last year, we were all celebrating 20 years together. It was a high celebration, and here we are, celebrating the biggest honors of his life. And he has to be clear about this. This isn't his award. It's made by the people who helped him build up his career and the fans that connected with him in all of his years in the business. This award isn't just for him. It's for all of us. So straight up, and immediately Dominik's music plays, and the rat bastard himself, Dominik Mysterio, comes out, and he congratulates Rey, calls him Jefe, and he finally made it to the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, he basically, when it came to the beginning stages of this promo, he kind of stated the same thing technically, but instead of talking about this, he talked about how he should be in the Deadbeat Dad Hall of Fame. But he didn't say that here. He talks about how he finally made it into the WWE Hall of Fame, and he actually deserves it. He put his whole life in this business, and he hopes it was worth it because he earned that honor in the expense of him. He comes in the ring, and yeah, that's right. But you know what? He put his entire life for this business, and he chose all these strangers instead of being there for his kids. How does that feel, huh? Is it an honor that he went all those nights without having a father, huh? How does it feel during 8th grade, during his 8th grade promotion? If he got good grades, he would take him out. And, if it came every time, when it came along, he wasn't there to be shown. He was a no-show. He ditched him for WrestleMania. He then turned 16. And when he turned 16, he said that he was going to get him a new car. A new car. All his friends showed up with new Mercedes. And he got a BMW. It wasn't even an M Series. Look, he is just afraid because he sees him for what he really is. And that is a sad, ugly excuse for a father. And after that, he talks about how he is not only an excuse of a father, but he is an excuse for a man. And then Rey, you can clearly see Rey saying, hey, Dominik, take that back. And he will let him enjoy his Hall of Fame weekend in Los Angeles. But he challenges him to a match at WrestleMania. And we get a bunch of yes chants. And Rey says he doesn't know how many times he needs to tell him, but he isn't fighting his own son. He still loves him, and there will be no match at WrestleMania. Dominik tells the fans that that's your Hall of Famer, while Rey Mysterio is just walking out to the stage. He's just going to walk away. That is the only thing he knows what to do. He ran away from Raw, his family, and him. Yeah, go ahead. The only thing he taught him was what not to be. And that was Dominik's crazy-ass promo. What are my thoughts on this? This is actually one of the very few things on the show that I actually really enjoyed. This was fantastic. I talked about this on the SmackDown review, but, besides all the Bloodline stuff that is going on right now when it looks like the Bloodline is going to be coming to an end as soon as we head towards WrestleMania, the second thing that I've been really enjoying about WWE recently is Judgment Day and the feud between Dominik Mysterio and Rey Mysterio. I thought what they have been doing and building up for the past couple of months has been actually pretty good, fantastic television, in my opinion. I really liked what they've been doing. Every time, they would have Dominik come in and invade Rey Mysterio's home during many different holidays like Halloween, Christmas, birthdays, New Year's, whatever. I love those I like that slow build up to that match, and the seed is already planted for WrestleMania, which we're most likely going to be having Dominik versus Rey Mysterio. Now, the thing about this is also on the SmackDown side, they are also telling this story. Legado del Fantasma is involved in this as well. Could this lead? Now, we do not know if this is going to be the case, but could this lead to Legado del Fantasma being involved in this as well? We do not know, but overall, I really like what WWE is doing regarding Dominik Mysterio. If there's anything that you can say about Dominik Mysterio, yes. His promos are not the best, and I feel like when it comes to his promos, I think the biggest problem with his promos is not... It's really the promos, but I feel like the biggest problem is the tone of his voice, and that's not really nobody's fault. That's how Dominik is. Like, he just doesn't sound as genuine, in my opinion, but he's still very good, and he managed to get himself over as a heel. And every time when Dominik Mysterio comes out, this motherfucker is getting booed out of the goddamn building. And he literally made this whole thing with Judgment Day work. You know, I remember when they first paired him with Judgment Day, we were all starting to become kind of skeptical. But now, after, you know, the dynamic that Dominik and Rhea Ripley has had, you know, for the past couple of months, ever since Dominik joined Judgment Day, I'm going to be honest, man, I've been really enjoying what they have been doing recently. And overall, I'm very excited at what they're going to be doing at WrestleMania. And most likely we are going to be getting Rey Mysterio versus Dominik Mysterio at WrestleMania. We get a backstage interview with Trish Stratus. Talks about how the only thing that Damage Control managed to do is piss her off. Great. We then get Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, a relatively short match. I'm not going to go through this match a lot. Maybe I am. I have no idea. But this is one of those matches that I just clearly just do not give a single shit about. Corbin goes immediately after Seth Rollins, and then the bell rings. We get a right hand by Corbin, but then the crowd sings along Seth Rollins' theme. Rollins then fights back. We get a thrust kick by Rollins, and then we get a rolling elbow by Seth Rollins. He then clotheslines Corbin into the outside. We get a tope suicida by Rollins, but then Corbin is on the announce table. Rollins then drives himself on Corbin, but then he sends Corbin to The Miz, who is on commentary during this match. After that, he sends, we get a super kick by Rollins in the ring. Miz then tries to interfere, but then gets taken out by Rollins, but then he runs over Miz. And what happens is Miz is on the mat, same thing as Baron Corbin. Both guys are on the mat at the same time, and Rollins is choosing whether or not I should either curve stomp Miz or Corbin. And what he does is that he runs over Miz and he hits the stomp on Baron Corbin. We get a cover, and Seth Rollins wins the match. Great. Of course, Seth Rollins is going to be facing Logan Paul at WrestleMania. I don't want to say that I'm excited for this match because clearly, to be honest with you, I'm not really that excited for Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. I feel like, I don't know, man, when it comes to Seth Rollins, I mean, like, and it's not Seth Rollins' fault. I feel like they could do so much more with Seth Rollins that they're just not doing a lot with him right now, and they're just putting him in a high-profile match with Logan Paul. I'm not saying that the match is going to suck, because it's clearly not. If you guys are denying that Logan Paul, you know, is bad in the ring, you got another thing coming. I don't know about you guys, but that's clearly stupidity on your end. Logan Paul, say what you want about the guy, and trust me, the guy has, you know, he's an ass clown. He's a clown in real life. But the one thing that you can say about Logan Paul is that Logan Paul is actually very good in the ring. The last two matches that he had were fan-fucking-tastic. The match that he had with Miz at SummerSlam this past July, and the match that he had with Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel, I believe it was this past November. Completely forgot when. But they were very good matches, and this is going to be no different. But again, after WrestleMania, what is Seth Rollins going to be doing? That's the question that we really need to ask ourselves, man. Seth Rollins, I genuinely believe he needs to be in the title picture. You know, every time when he's put in the title picture, he loses. At some point, he's going to have to win a world championship. At some point. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Of course, next week, we're going to be having the WWE live edition of Impulsive, which hopefully that's a good segment. I'm not really, you know, Impulsive is their actual podcast, Logan Paul's actual podcast, and, you know, that's with his crew and all that stuff. I don't know what they're going to be doing, but when it comes to talk show segments, I'm going to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of talk show segments in wrestling. You know, this week on Dynamite, we're going to be getting QTV with QT fucking Marshall of all people. I'm not excited for that either, but we'll just have to wait and see what they do. Chad Gable is backstage, and he sees Otis posing with the Maximum Male models. Skip. Nobody gives a shit. It was cringe as hell. We then get Bianca Belair versus Chelsea Green in a relatively short match, and I'm going to be honest, this match was not good whatsoever. This is one of those matches that you could clearly just not give a single fuck about. This match was garbage. And I like Bianca Belair, and I like Chelsea Green, man. The internet wrestling community, man. Like, the moment you say you don't like a match, the IWC will tend to take shit so fucking seriously because they are so sensitive, man. The IWC is literally the worst fucking community in the entire world. Literally. They suck balls. But we're going to be talking about this match for a short amount of time. Literally, this was a short match. Nobody cared. The crowd was dead. And after the match, you had Asuka coming out, and I'll be talking about that as well because clearly the build for Asuka versus Bianca Belair, in my opinion, hasn't really been all that good, really. I'm not really as intrigued to see what they are doing. I think Asuka clearly should win at WrestleMania, but let's be honest with ourselves. Has this build for this match been really good? Because all they have been doing is fucking facing off, and you have Asuka literally just smiling and showing off her mist. That's all that she's been doing. No intensity. It's just basically a babyface versus babyface match so far. And say what you want about it, I actually do not like that. But let's go through the match. I mean, granted, this match was slow and it was boring, and the crowd did not help at all. We got a waist-lock takedown. We got a shoulder tackle by Bianca, followed by a backbreaker. We then get a standing moonsault. Carmella is on the outside and hits the super kick on Bianca Belair. We get a cover by Chelsea Green and a near fall. Later on in the match, I'm not even going to go through the whole thing. We get a couple of... Bianca tries to go for the cartwheel, but then what happens is Carmella's on the apron and knocks her down. And after that, we get a roll-up and a near fall, but then we get a cover by Chelsea Green and a near fall. After that, Bianca Belair picks her up, hits the KOD, and we get a cover and a near fall. And then after that, actually no, we get a cover and Bianca Belair wins the match. I fucked up my notes right there. And after that, Carmella and Chelsea Green come in and attack Bianca Belair, but then Asuka comes in for the save. Then she hits a kick on Chelsea Green. Asuka then has Bianca Belair's championship, and she offers to give the belt back to Bianca Belair. But then what happens is she basically trolls her, and then what happens is she basically dances around with the belt, and nobody gives a shit, and that was that. Overall, again, is that really the whole extent of this whole feud? They're just going to face off and that's it until WrestleMania. Look, the match is going to be fucking amazing. But again, give me more, please. Don't give me this whole dancing shit. Give me more. Just give me more. In our main event, we got Kevin Owens, who wants to fight the Bloodline and take out the Bloodline on his own, taking on the Bloodline's enforcer and the Bloodline's muscle, Solo Sikoa, in a street fight. So last week they did wrestle on Raw, but the match ended in a disqualification. So overall, this was a relatively short match. This match only lasted 10 minutes, probably less than 10 minutes. But nothing really much happened on the show except for what happened in the end. Kevin Owens goes immediately after Solo Sikoa after he makes his entrance. We get a back elbow by Kevin Owens, but then he hits the senton. Solo Sikoa then retreats from the cannonball attempt by Kevin Owens. And then Kevin Owens gets taken to the barricade. And then Kevin Owens hits the clothesline after that. And then we get a chop by Solo Sikoa. Solo then takes him into the ring, but then Solo, in the ring, hits the Samoan drop. After the Samoan drop spot, Solo regains control. Kevin Owens then brings out a table, but then Solo hits the super kick. And then he throws him over the announce table. Once we're back from commercial break, Kevin Owens hits Solo Sikoa with the chair. And then Kevin Owens sets up a series of chairs back into the ring. And Solo gets placed on those chairs, but then Kevin Owens is up in the ring. Solo comes back, but then Kevin Owens actually manages to headbutt Solo Sikoa. After he headbutts Solo, then Solo catches him, and he drops Kevin Owens on those fucking chairs. After that, Solo then gets taken to the after that gets taken to the barricade. Kevin Owens then comes in and drives Solo Sikoa to the stage. So both at that point, fight on the stage. But then what happens is Kevin Owens is in Gorilla, and as soon as he enters Gorilla, he gets hit with a double super kick by the Usos. And they could do that. It's legal because it is a street fight. There are no rules in a street fight. And then they both drag Kevin Owens into the ring. Once we're back in the ring, we get the double super kick by the Usos, but then Solo Sikoa goes for the Samoan spike. We got a cover, and Solo Sikoa wins this match, this street fight, over Kevin Owens. Overall thoughts on this match? This was a pretty good match overall. Not a long match, nothing really special, but they definitely got the job done. They're definitely continuing to build. the whole Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens reunion. And I think that's going to be very, very special in my opinion. But again, the match that is supposed to happen at WrestleMania is definitely going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn taking on the Usos for the Unified Championships at WrestleMania. But overall, that was that. I really enjoyed this match for what it was. And after that, nothing happened and the show ended. So what are my thoughts overall on this show? Raw was not really that good of a show in my opinion. There were some things on the show that I liked and some other things on the show that I really didn't like in my opinion. The biggest problem with this show is, again, man, those 3 hours are just a tough watch considering the fact that, they need to put stuff on the show for the sake of putting stuff on the show, considering the fact that the show is 3 hours. And a lot of that stuff, that being the filler stuff, is just pure stupidity in my opinion. We'd get random matches that, would happen and they would literally have no crowd reaction whatsoever. And that is it. But there were other stuff on the show that I actually did enjoy, but not really a lot. But that was my Raw review from March 13th, 2023. Again, some stuff was good, some stuff wasn't. It really was kind of an show. I mean, again, Raw is just a tough watch. But that was my Raw review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. I'm on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays from the WrestleHavoc Podcast, signing out. Peace out.